In the 1950s, Andy Warhol created silkscreen portraits of celebrities using mass-produced images and non-traditional blocks of color, which became pop art icons. I'm going to show you a fun and easy technique to transfer and duplicate images onto clay tiles. Then, by adding interesting color combinations, students can create their own pop art self-portraits. Hi, I'm Mary Skydema, and I'd like to introduce you to pop art clay portraits. First, have students find a photograph of themselves and make a black and white copy of it. A close-up works best, and it should be as simple as possible. You'll want your work tables to be covered in canvas to keep the clay from sticking. A white clay body works best for vibrant color, and you can cut the slabs right from the block. I've rolled a slab of clay about 1/4 inch thick. A thickness strip on each side of the slab helps to keep the slab even, and you want to roll both ways across the slab to align the clay particles and reduce your chances of warping later. The slab is just slightly larger than the image I'm going to use. So have your students decide which features of the photograph need to be transferred to make the most effective, simplified line drawing. I'm going to use a gel pen to go over the lines of the photo that I'm going to transfer to the clay. I like to mark the 4 corners for ease of cutting later. I just like to put small little marks in the corners with my gel pen that I'm going to use as a guide. So we're going to place the image face down onto the clay and rub it with your fingers. We're just going to let it sit for a few seconds. We're going to peel up the paper to check the transfer. If it's not quite dark enough, wait a few more seconds and remove the paper. If your clay is slightly drier, a little mist on the back of the paper will do the trick. Your portrait has transferred, and as you can see, it's now a mirror image. At this point, I'm going to use a ruler to cut the slab into a tile. I'm using these little marks I left as a guide on the corners. Okay, and you can just smooth the edges of the tile slightly, a little water on your fingertips. And then we're going to start carving. Now we're going to use a small ribbon tool to carve into our image. This soft slab can very easily be carved. Some might prefer to let the clay stiffen slightly, and you'll figure out which you prefer. In addition to using these ribbon tools to carve, you can also just use a single layer of a baggie, place it over the tile, and use a pen to just go over your lines. This is going to result in a nice smooth edge without burrs. You can see how that turns out. Try not to move the tile other than to flip it over once or twice for even drying. When the tile is completely dry or fired, it's time to apply color. I like to fill all my carved lines in with black paint to mimic the black outline many of the pop artists use. If your tile is fired, You can paint black acrylic paint into the lines. I'm just moistening it a little bit with clear water. I'm just going to take some plain old black acrylic and brush it over about 1/4 of the tile at a time. Going to move a little bit quickly so that you don't have a whole lot to remove. And then you just go back with your sponge and wipe off the surface of the tile. It's going to leave the black acrylic in the carved areas. If your tile is made of air dry clay, the black clay must be painted into the carved areas. Now with a small brush, we can apply color. For this project, Blick Studio acrylics give good coverage on either the fired tile or the air dry one. Pastels are another option, but should be sprayed with a fixative as a last step. Oil colors also work well and give a very deep, color-saturated finished product. And ceramic underglazes look great as is or with a clear glaze on top. A PDF version of this lesson plan, along with a materials list and national standards, are available on the Blick lesson plans page.